Rockin' with a hot pimp. You can't kill it with this glove, it will not fit. Evidence will not stick. Rapping with a self-respecting southerner. So bro, what's in your pot? Those are not grits. Spit bars, I stand behind mine. Yeah. Sentences I serve, maximize guidelines. My lawyer can't give me his advice when he's beasts that I murder carry mandatory minimums of life. Yikes. In case you didn't get the point, we spit bars.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another broadcast of the Maximum Sentence where there's conviction behind the bars. I'm your man, AJ Throwback. Great to be here with y'all on another awesome Sunday evening where we are continuing our breakdown of Independence Avenue, track number 4 off of my latest EP, The Late Bloomer 2, which is available on all platforms except Spotify. But if you haven't heard the EP, please make sure that you go get it. You can go to most digital streaming platforms to stream it. If you want to buy it, you can go to my website, bammllc.net/music. Once again, that's bammllc.net/music. Or if you want 4 bonus tracks, 1, 2, 3, 4 more for my Instagram people, 1, 2, 3, 4 more bonus tracks. Go to my Bandcamp page. That is ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. Once again, that's ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. Like I said, great to be here with y'all on a great Sunday evening. I was kind of sort of talking offline to my Instagram people. For those of y'all who are watching on YouTube, appreciate those of y'all who are going to watch this live and going to watch it on the replay. But talking a little trash to them Cowboys fans, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? They're getting beat right now. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm not as pressed to get back to watching the game because it's looking like it's at hand right now. But who knows with the Cowboys defense, they can step up. They're the number 1 defense in the league. But we're not here to talk about football. We're here to talk music. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one of these days I'll start a football show or something like that. But for the time being, we are here to talk, once again, Independence Avenue. This is the second of 3 conversations that we're having about this particular song that is rooted and grounded in really celebrating the independent artist and the independent spirit. But before we even get into that, one, if you're watching this right now, please make sure that you share the live, spread the word, let your folks know that I am live. Or if you're watching this on the replay, you can feel free to share with your network. But before we get into anything, I kind of sort of got away from the live format, but I want to really get back to this because I want to just always showcase everybody who supports this platform as much as I possibly can. And what I used to always do whenever I would do the pre-recorded version of this is read comments from people. So I wanted to read 5 of the comments from this past week from when I reposted on Instagram. So all of these comments are from Instagram. So first and foremost, shout out to the homie DJ Shane. He said, great night with the tribe. This is in reference to episode 31 of the Maximum Sentence, which was the first conversation about Independence Avenue. My main man, Gideon Peoples, he said, that's my mans in them. Pure genius. Good brother. Yes, sir. Definitely appreciate that. Good energy. There is a comment missing from here, and I don't know why it is missing because I'm sitting here like, okay, where is the comment? You know what I mean? Hold on. Bear with me 1 second and just pull this up. Sometimes StreamYard can be really weird because it's like, you could do something. Peace and blessings, my brother King Johannes Beast on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in for the live. The next comment comes from my sis. That's on IG right now, Anonymous Touch. She said, what a great episode. As always, you shared many gems and provided some great valid points and perspective. Great space for all. And I appreciate that comment as well as all the comments that we had last week. My sis over in the UAE, Dr. Yolanda D. Barber on Instagram, she said, yo, everything you said was so real. Thank you for what you're doing. I do a lot out of this. Your words, I'm without them right now because you did the damn thing. I appreciate that, my sister. She's probably asleep right now. because it's, I want to say it's 5, it might be 5 in the morning over in the UAE, or 5:30 in the morning over in the UAE. And shout out to my sis A-Rise on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for always tapping in and supporting. And Anonymous Such just said, live, big vibes. Absolutely. It's always big vibes whenever we do this thing. You know what I mean? I'm so glad I switched to the live format. Oh yeah, that is the right order of the comments. And then the last comment comes from my brother. He is KB's Third Life on Instagram. My man Keith. Me and Keith, we actually were roommates, second year college. So he said, an artist who cannot or doesn't express their creativity is already dead on the inside. And I told him, I was like, yo, that's the quote of the week right there. You know, like, I mean, just a quality comment, and really summarizes, like, if anybody wanted a summary of what, like, I was really saying in the first part of talking about Independence Avenue in episode 31, that's the comment right there. That really sums it up. So definitely appreciate everybody for bringing your comments, bringing your good energy. And I want to let everybody know, if you have any questions, like if you've listened to the song, if you're familiar with the song, and you have any questions, whether or not it's other parts of the song or whatever parts that I break down this week, definitely feel free to drop some comments on Instagram. It's easy. All you got to do is just hit the question button and I'll answer the question. On YouTube, I'll do the same. Just throw the question in the comments and I'll address it. So it's all about being interactive with this new format of being live. So I appreciate everybody for all of your energy, and I appreciate you as well, my sister A-Rise. Definitely appreciate that. And once again, if you're watching this live, please feel free to share the live with your folks, with your network. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. I am going to play the next part of Independence Avenue that I'm going to break down. I think this is the next 16 bars. So y'all check these out if y'all haven't already.
Too articulate, meticulous in sentences to consciously diminish any lyric in my penmanship. Limited, that this is not attributed. BJ and these Sam's are getting clubs, not incentive for their membership. Monster gladiator drums, fit a timpani. The feelings gotta meet us on the moon. Hear the symphony? Constellations make my standing up. Of the God who made the universe, don't pigeonhole me to a planet bird. I've been a lone ranger, ass Tonto. Widow of the pack, says Gonzo. Flip my lack of fashion to a world-class art show. Expanded at the hot flow. Basquiat rap, Chaz Picasso. 5-year-old who wouldn't take his blazer off to sleep. Mind my business all the time, ain't no shaving off the cheek. Evidence of culture in my blood, check my first bus. Hip-hop emerged, turning curses into surplus. Now the advent of...
I didn't mean to play that much of it. For whatever reason, when I was trying to put a little effect on it, it didn't do what I wanted it to do. But anyway, those were the second set of 16 bars on Independence Avenue. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. But before we do, shout out to TZ the Star on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for tapping in, my brother. And I wanted to read a comment from Anonymous Touch. He said, interactive platforms are so important. It keeps your viewers feeling related and connected. That's what it's all about, always. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the homie John Hands on the check-in. My man, appreciate you for tapping in, my brother. Came at the right time, about to start this breakdown of the lyrics and everything. So I want to start at the point where I say, too articulate, meticulous in sentences to consciously diminish any lyric in my penmanship. Limited, that this is not attributed. BJ and these Sams to get in clubs, not incentive for their memberships. So that part is really important, because one of the things that I dealt with at one point of my career, I never forget, after I finished doing the 8-Track Bandit, which was my second mixtape that I put out in 2010. And I never forget sending my music to this dude who, like, he ran something with some clubs or whatever. And he, you know, he listened to it and he was like, yo, I like this, but I already know the crowd and they're going to want something that cranks. And people in the DMV understand what crank means. It's a certain vibe that you're looking for to really get the crowd going. And my particular song wasn't necessarily it. So to be honest, for probably about a year or two, I went through a little bit of an identity crisis as an artist, because I was really trying to figure out how I wanted to navigate this next phase or this next stage of being an artist. Because you're talking about really the first year or so that I decided to be a primary artist, a primary recording artist. Because up to that point, I did primarily producing for like the first 7 years that I was even really taking music seriously. And then for that first year, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, who am I? And I think every artist goes to that period, like trying to figure out who you are. And it was really trying to find that balance between being Mr. Vocabulary, Mr. $64 million word, and being relatable to the people. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure I shout out my main man, Reflections, on the check-in. My man, Radio Rick. Appreciate you for always supporting my brother. On Instagram, that is. So, yeah, so it was a matter of like, because I always think about like the first mixtape. And it was funny. I was talking to my main man, Mike Mountain, about this yesterday, that I did like a whole two, not just one, I did two unreleased mixtapes, but they were private mixtapes for my wife. And so like, I'll never forget the first mixtape that I did. And I was trying to like come up with all of these like big behind words that nobody ever uses in rap. You know how a lot of like lyricists do, like they really try to hit you in the head with the vocabulary. And it was like, when I really thought about it, I was like, all right, you're doing too much. So then it became a thing where it was like, all right, how do I navigate that balance between the big words and being relatable to the people? Because you have to navigate that way when it comes to people. And shout out to my cuz Young Phil on the check-in. Vince's got the heat on the check-in. Change Agent Now Forever on the check-in. And my man 900 Supreme K9 on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Phil, I don't know who your team is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who your team is. John Hans, if I didn't have the music going, because the problem with when I let people in on a live, it knocks out the music, and the music is key to this particular platform. So maybe another time we could definitely have a live together or whatever. But if you have any comments, definitely drop them in the comments, or if you have any questions, drop me a question as well. And shout out to One Jazzy Sassy on the check-in on Instagram, and Dreaded Dro on the check-in on Instagram. But navigating that balance was a very hard thing for me to do. And so it was like, okay, do I dumb down my lyrics or do I just find that healthy balance? And so for me, over time, it had to end up being this thing where it was like, okay, I'm always going to drop vocabulary because that's just what I come from. You know, I always think about my humanities teacher, School Without Walls, senior high school, Northwest DC, 95, 97. One of the things she always made us do whenever we read stuff, if we didn't know what the words were and we got to class and we got to that word and she asked like, what's that word mean? And we didn't know, oh, we would get lit up. She would let us have it. Because it's like, how are you reading something and you don't even know what it means? So when it came to vocabulary, I became one of those people. I became one of those people who really was in the vocabulary after a while. You know what I mean? And so, but I had to realize that in rap is different. You have to strike that balance. It has to be a thing where you give them just enough, but you don't give them too much. But at the same time, you can't dumb down yourself at the end of the day. That's that long way of basically saying you can't dumb down what you do to the point where it's not even your identity. It's not even really who you are after a while. And so that's why I said too articulate, meticulous, and sentences to consciously diminish any lyric in my penmanship. And also not even just on a vocabulary level, but also on a content level. Because sometimes, I mean, if you really think about where music is, I like that, medicine in the cheese. Absolutely. And my man Vincent says balance is definitely key. Absolutely. And John has, and you know, I appreciate you for saying that, brother. He said, I dumbed it down. The thing is, whatever works for you is what works for you. Because to a certain degree, I'm not gonna lie, bro, like I had to do the same thing. Like I couldn't go as hard with the heavy vocabulary. But at the same time, getting to the lyrical content part of it, that's where I refuse to dumb it down. That's where I refuse to say, okay, I'm only going to talk about like 2 or 3 subjects. There are so many things that we can talk about as lyricists, as rappers, as people. We are layered people. So why limit ourselves as people or as representatives of life? Because if you're an artist, that's really who you are, what you are. You are a representative of life. So why sit there And like I think about where music is now. You think about popular hit rap music. On the guy side, like everybody talking about, fucking on your bitch, and you know what I'm saying, like, excuse my language, but I'm just trying to like paint the picture. And my Draco hold 223s, and you know what I'm saying, I ride around with the stick, and like all of this other stuff that is like, okay, 10 of y'all Bamas already done said that. So can y'all pick something else, or go into something my man Ray Gideon People shared with me? It was this young lady who put out a video basically talking about a lot of the women that are in hip hop, and all they do is rap about they box. And it's like, what else? What else do you have? You know what I mean? And so for me, I'm not the type of person to just rap about 2 or 3 things and that's it. Because I've gone through so much more life to limit myself to a small amount of subjects. Like that, to me, that's not being an artist. Like there's so many different pictures that I can paint about so many different things that I've been through, that why would I limit myself to either a certain level of vocabulary or certain lyrical content? You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't really make any sense. And I want to make sure that I shout out more folks on the check-in. Shout out my main man Jay Legacy on the check-in on Instagram, and Ms. Yasmin on the check-in on Instagram. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I want to read some of these comments before I move along. My man Change Agent Now Forever, he said, yes, as an English film major, I understand vocabulary, how important it is. Absolutely. And it's a balance with it. You got to really be delicate with how you roll it out to people, because you could go right over people's heads. And I think that's the mistake that, frankly, a lot of like really adept and elite lyricists make. They go so hard with trying to like hit you with the vocabulary that they don't realize you're only hitting a certain amount of people that understand what you're saying. If only a certain amount of people understand what you're saying, then your fan base is only going to be but so big, because you're only talking to a certain amount of people. Now, granted, I don't want to sacrifice who I am artistically for the sake of gaining more fans, but at the same time, I also understand that it's a give and take between the artist and the consumer. You have to give a certain amount of yourself as the artist, but understand that you also have to give a certain amount to the consumer to satisfy them in what they need in order to stay locked in with you. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a delicate balance. And then Vintage said, White, the listeners can literally grow with you, and you have the ability to educate, inform. Absolutely. John Hand said, yeah, there's a level I don't go beyond. And look, I respect that. I totally respect that, my brother. Absolutely. One Jazzy Sassy, she said, I feel that being versatile is major. Plus, you have to speak life in music. Absolutely. People relate to life. And when your music is relatable, people gonna ride with you. They gonna run through brick walls as supporters. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't really believe in calling people that rock with me fans, because I always look at it like this. Supporters hold you up, keep you grounded. Fans just keep you cool while you hot. That's it. You know what I mean? And then Jay Legacy said, hey, bro, it's been a minute, always bringing the facts. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you for tapping in. Vintage, he had a question, and thank you for asking a question. I always like answering questions. He said, do you think the artist may have limited language in terms of subject matter? It depends on the artist, because I believe certain artists purposely make the music they make because they know that it's popular. But I feel like a lot of those artists are a lot more intelligent or a lot more layered than they let on. But they know it's hot, and for them, it's about the bag. For them, it's about the popularity. For them, it's about the numbers, the streams, the likes, the follows. It's about all of those metrics. I think that's part of the problem with where music is now. I don't want to just limit it to hip hop, but where music is now is that so much is driven off of metrics. And so if people know what things are going to get the metrics going, and they know, unfortunately, how a lot of consumers are lazy, are sheep. They don't try to they'll say, oh, I want this, or I want more of that, or yada yada yada, but then they get numbed into keep liking the same type of artists. Like I always think about the line. It was a line off of Wayne had from his Gangsta Grill CD. He was like, I F them all. They all synonyms. You know what I'm saying? That's basically the fans. A lot of these fans out here, like they're synonyms, and so are the people that they support, unfortunately. So I think it all really depends on the artist. Now, some of these artists, I think they do have limited language in terms of their subject matter. But then there's other ones I've heard them talk outside of their music, and I'm like, nah, bro, you could bring a whole lot more, or nah, sis, you could bring a whole lot more than what you bringing to the table. You just choosing to like limit yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I then said limited, that this is not attributed. Because some people might say, because I dig deeper, because I choose to use certain language in my music, that limits me. But for me, again, I know how to strike the balance, because I never really look at myself like some people in the past have labeled me a conscious rapper. And I don't necessarily feel any kind of way about being labeled that. But at the same time, I also feel like sometimes the conscious or the backpack rapper label, it really kind of sort of puts like, it casts certain aspersions on you, you know, whereas people feel like, oh, you too intelligent. Oh, that's smart rap. Like, I don't know if I want to necessarily listen to that. Or I ain't trying to bump that in the ride and this and this and that and the third. And it's like, yeah, but did you listen though? Did you even try? You know what I'm saying? And I'm the type of person, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle with a lot. And it's not even necessarily on purpose. It kind of is, but that's just who I am. I don't really believe in being too commercial with what I do, but I also don't believe in being too just like, okay, I'm just hitting you in the head with all of this like knowledge and, you know, deep stuff and whatnot. I believe in a balance, because there's certain things I talk about that's kind of deep, but I find a way to kind of sort of lighten it up, because I know how people are. I know how people think. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't feel limited, because I don't even limit myself in any way that I express myself. I don't limit myself in the type of beats that I rap over. You know, like, I mean, y'all hear it from the series. Like, I rap over beats that got 808s. I rap over beats that sound boom bap. I rap over whatever vibrates with me and that speaks to me. And that's why I feel like I'm not limited as an artist. You know what I'm saying? But then you get to the line where I say BJ and these Sams that get in clubs, not incentive for their memberships. Like, for me, that line, it's, I mean, it's definitely like a play on words, but BJing, blowjobs. You know what I'm saying? I ain't sitting here trying to like be on anybody's jock just to be accepted. I'm not trying to sit here and do this and do that just to gain more popularity. I will never be, well, yeah, I will never be that type of artist. Even when like I thought I was doing what I needed to do in order to kind of sort of be more popular, it didn't work for me. I didn't even roll any of that music out. So yeah, I can say I'm never going to do that. And now I'm older. I know exactly who I am artistically. I have my own identity artistically. You can't tell me nothing now. You know what I mean? So let me read some of these comments. Shout out my main man, Ryan Lucas, DC on Instagram on the check-in. He says, salute, bro. I was at the DC Music Summit all weekend. I'm exhausted, but great info out there. Salute to Dior. Absolutely. Shout out to Dior Ashley Brown. I know she tired, because she been planning for this thing for months now. You know what I'm saying? So I wish I could have been there. It's just, one, I couldn't really afford it, and two, I just had a lot going on this weekend. So, but I'm glad that you were able to go. I saw a lot of people there that I'm sure like gave some great information out, brought the energy and everything. So salute to you, my brother. Jay Legacy, he said, maximize your potential by maximizing perception/perspectives. That's right. Absolutely. Anonymous said marketing through the metrics. Yeah, and a lot of times, unfortunately, that's where we're at with the music. Like, the marketing is based on the metrics. And I mean, it's not really that much different than it was back in the day, because I mean, you had Billboard charts, you know what I'm saying? But Billboard charts aren't necessarily the metric for success, or Grammy wins or album sales. Those aren't necessarily all the metrics for success now. Now everything is based off of your social media. What's your following like? You know what I'm saying? How many organic likes and followers and streams and all of these different things are you getting? That's how people are really, that's the barometer now for who's hot and who's not, unfortunately. Venture said, right, it's just cookie cutter vibes that don't promote a lot of originality. Right, exactly. And then John Hand said, but bro, you talking lyrics and most don't have that. And that's the unfortunate part, is that we're at a stage where lyrics, I always think about my man, my main man, I wish he was in on this, Jay Zone Out. So my first video, Proof of ID, me, my homie Hez, my homie Bricks, we wore shirts that said rap lines matter. Because for us, that's what it's about. It's about the lyrics. This is hip hop, you know what I'm saying? And lyrics matter. This is hip hop, and there are certain levels, there are certain layers to what we say that need to resonate, because that's where the culture came from. The culture for me doesn't come from dumbing myself down and not telling my truth, or not telling the truth that I see out in the world, out in the streets, out in the community, whatever. Like, unfortunately, a lot of people don't, like my man John Hands is suggesting, a lot of people don't have that same mentality. They don't put the same stock into lyrics. And unfortunately, because the artists don't put enough stock into the lyrics, then by what's the word I'm looking for? By default, the consumer isn't going to put as much stock in the lyrics, unfortunately. So, you know, like, it's a harsh reality, but you're absolutely right. Let's see. Any other comments? And John Hand said, he said, but you can rap. I appreciate that, brother. You know what I'm saying? That's coming from a rapper. You know what I'm saying? An excellent rapper. So I appreciate that coming from you, my brother. Shane, DJ Shane, he said, some artists create and others reciprocate what's already out. Unfortunately. And that's true. He said, a lot of knowledge in this live from J Legacy Official. He said, a lot of knowledge in this live, very rare. I'm thankful to tap in tonight, and I'm thankful to you for tapping in, my brother. Shout out to I am KB the Don on the check-in on YouTube. And then Ventus said, you also have non-music creatives. Oh, come on. Come on and say it, brother. I ain't even got through the whole comment. I know where you going. He said, you also have non-music creatives dictating what the sound and content should be on the majors. They have the engine, which unfortunately pushes the narrative many times. That's the problem. And I mentioned this in another live, but every time I think about where the industry is, I always think about Empire. And when Kingsley came into the show and was trying to tell Lucius, who came from a particular time, that what's hot is based on the metrics. Somebody who's never made music a day in their life, he's an IT guy, he's a computer guy, he's a numbers guy, he's a statistics guy, trying to tell somebody who's a musician how to make music, what type of music is going to resonate. And it's just like, bruh, what, like, you don't even know any, like, you haven't been in this long enough to tell me, somebody who knows how to make music. I'm not a computer programmer, I'm a musician. Because there's a difference. There's a difference between, and me and my homie Carter, we always talk about this. There's a difference between musicians and computer programmers. And a lot of these, frankly, a lot of these producers out here are computer programmers. And you can tell by the music they make. And unfortunately, the artists follow suit. A lot of what they do is very robotic. It's very cookie cutter, as you know, the saying has gone in the conversation on Instagram. You know what I mean? And Vincent, he also said they don't have the heartbeat of the people at all. Man, come on. Say that again for the people in the back. You know what I mean? Shout out to my big sis, Joy, on the check-in on Instagram. Joyful Connections, Life Coaching on Instagram. Appreciate you for always supporting. But yeah, like, moving on to the next set of lyrics. So I say, march the gladiator drums, fear the timpani. To Phyllis, gotta meet us on the moon, hear the symphony. Constellations make my standard up. Of the God who made the universe, don't pigeonhole me to a planet, bro. And really, those set of lines like feed off of everything that I just said. Because I'm the type of artist, I don't just think in a very small or limited way of thinking or creating or saying, okay, well, this is the music that I'm comfortable listening to, or this is the music I'm comfortable making. So I'm never going to veer outside of this particular zone. I try to make beats, and I'm always surrounded by people who push me to push my artistry to another level. You know what I'm saying? One of those people in the very live right now. Looking forward to connecting with my sis Anonymous Touch. Like, she got me on track to do my first drill beat. You know what I'm saying? We haven't done it yet, but we on the move to do this. That'll be something new for me. Shout out once again my man Mike Mountain. This year I did my first reggaeton beat. Like, I never did a reggaeton beat before. You know what I'm saying? And like he believed in me. Anonymous Touch believes in me to do different than what I'm even used to. But the thing is, I'm not afraid to do that because I don't limit myself. So if I don't limit myself artistically, then how dare somebody else try to do it to me? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't place me in this little box that makes you comfortable. Because that's the thing. When people place you in boxes, any box, forget music for a second. Whenever people try to say, well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? It's because them placing you in a box makes them comfortable. Because they're not comfortable enough, or they're not brave enough, they're not bold enough to step out on a limb and do something that goes far beyond the pale. And that's what it's about as artists. When you are really an artist, you really try to push yourself like beyond what you even think you can do. And if you're tapped in spiritually, you have no choice, because God is going to push you beyond what you're comfortable doing. If you're tapped in spiritually, God is going to push you beyond what you're comfortable doing, because God is not small. That's why I said, of the God who made the universe, don't pigeonhole me to a planet, bro. So if I'm an extension of the Most High, why then would I just limit myself to only a certain amount of sounds? Or why would I limit myself to a certain amount of topics? Or why would I limit myself to a certain level of vocabulary? Or why would I limit myself to different types of expression, or one type of expression, or two types of expression? There are multiple types of expression. I think about who I am as a producer. I think about the music that I listen to. Anybody who follows my workout playlist, you have literally seen gospel, you have seen country, you've seen hard rock, you've seen dance music, pop music, jazz, hip hop, R&B, blues. You've seen a little bit of everything. You've seen Caribbean music. You've seen African music. You've seen a little bit of everything, because there's so many vibes, so many sounds, so many styles that you can fuse into what you do. That why would you limit yourself? Why would you only just do something that's just very linear? I am probably an extension of the whole attitude that Black people are not a monolith. Now, granted, my music does have a certain level of soul. My music does have a certain level of hip hop influence, R&B influence, because those are the bases for me. But at the same time, I also don't believe in limiting myself in that way. You know what I mean? So, moving on to the next set of lines, because I don't want to stay there but so long. But let me read a couple of comments before I get there. Vincent said, drag and drop, shaking my head. Yes, that's what I mean by computer programmers. Drag and drop, exactly. You pick up exactly what I'm putting down. Anonymous Touch, she said, people fear innovation because that means change. Absolutely. And honestly, that goes for the old heads too, because we could go there. You know, like, why a lot of old heads, and I don't say OGs, I say old heads, because OGs, they reach out to the younger generations. They're olive branches to the younger generations. The old heads, they pretty much hate anything that ain't from their particular generation. Like people who say, I only listen to music from the 90s. Like, my dude, it's not the 90s anymore. We 3 decades removed from that. Like, let's move ahead. Let's push the culture forward. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you have the culture where it is, and a lot of people are afraid to step out of a certain comfort zone in terms of what they create. You know what I mean? But anyway, moving to the next set of lines. I've been a lone ranger, asked Tonto, weirdo of the pack sans Gonzo. Flipped my lack of flash into a world-class art show. Expanded that to hot flows. Basquiat rap / Picasso. And so, shout out my main man, Calvin Williams, on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in, my brother. So, the whole thing of... Let me go back to the line. I've been a lone ranger, asked Tonto. Weirdo of the pack sans Gonzo. So, those lines are important. Those are some of the most important lines on the sneak because it explains my whole attitude toward being an independent artist. Because I've always thought in an independent way. I've always looked at things in a way that most people won't look at them. And a lot of times, because I had, kind of a quirky personality, it didn't always make me a whole bunch of friends. It didn't always land me at the cool kids table. Because I didn't always look at the world the same way that the cool kids did, or the ones who dressed a certain way, or the ones who were popular, or the ones who were accepted because they knew all the hip stuff. And me, a lot of times, the project series is called Late Bloomer. I was a late bloomer to a lot of things. So I caught it kind of sort of on the back end because I was thinking futuristically versus what's hip right now. You know what I mean? And so for me, I got used to being to myself. I got used to going back, honestly, to my song Loner's Remorse. It was one of those things where I embraced the strength, or I embraced introversion as a strength versus looking at it as a weakness. And so embracing it as a strength, I use those moments, being a loner, being a weirdo, to create the type of art that I create. And once again, balancing it out to a way where it wasn't just something that would just be cool to me, but it would be helpful to other people. It would resonate with other people. That's where I had to kind of sort of learn that whole thing. Like, yeah, I could be on my own and I could talk about what I talk about, but I have to talk about it in a way that people want to receive it, that it has replay value. Because if things don't have replay value for me as a consumer, I'm not going to get into it. But if it's something where it's like, I'm constantly quoting your lines. I think about some of the people I quote all the time. Jay-Z, of course, is number one. Anybody who knows me knows how big of a Jay-Z fan I am. I quote Jay-Z literally once a week. In fact, I quoted him once last night when I was talking about man Mike Mountain, talking about how people are very contradictory with how they do things. And I was like, is it Black Girl lost a shorty owe you for ice? That's a constant replayable bar. I can't tell y'all how many times I've used that bar to reference something. And that was probably from not even one of my favorite Jay-Z albums, but that song has such replay value, not only in terms of physically playing the song, but also replaying the lyric and the importance of the lyric and how applicable the lyric is to everyday life. That's what I mean by replay value. That's what I mean about figuring it out. Like, okay, how can I really resonate with what I'm doing? You know what I mean? So it was that figuring out, okay, yeah, I'm a loner, but how can I connect with people? Yes, I'm a weirdo, but how can I be relatable to people? You know what I mean? And so then we get to the lines where I say, 5-year-old who wouldn't take his blazer off to sleep. About my business all the time. Ain't no shaving off the cheek. Evidence of culture in my blood. Check my first bus. Hip hop emerged, turning curses into surplus. And so those are the last 4 bars I'm gonna break down. So I may be able to go bar for bar with this one. So 5-year-old who wouldn't take his blazer off to sleep. So when I was in kindergarten, and I mentioned this when I was talking about Chasing Maria, there was this Sunday suit that I always wanted to wear. like it was like an Easter suit or whatever, I would literally go to bed or try to go to bed in this Easter suit. Because I love the suit so much and I love the idea of being dressed up that I went to try to go to sleep in this suit. I went to school in this suit while all the other kids was wearing like shorts and jeans and t-shirts and all this. I'm the only one coming there suited and booted, dress shoes and all. You know what I'm saying? Dress socks and all. Again, weirdo of the pack, sans gonzo. You know what I mean? Like, I was the only one. But it connected about my business all the time. Ain't no shaving off the cheek. So for me, as an artist, because a lot of times independent artists make the mistake of focusing more on the art. That's right, Anonymous Touch, born ready, absolutely. A lot of people focus on the art and not enough on the business. This is the music business. You cannot avoid the business. You cannot avoid crossing your T's, dotting your I's, slashing your Q's, with the uppercase Q's, that is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot avoid it. That's something you cannot get around. We done heard all of the stories on the unsungs, the behind the musics, and I've said this before, where people get jerked because they don't handle their business. For me, I ain't trying to get jerked. I done seen too many people try to get away with murder in this game. Some people try to get over on me with certain things. I'm like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never forget. It's funny because I was just kind of sort of referencing these dudes last night. I never forget trying to work with this artist. I'm not going to name no names, but I remember trying to work with this artist and he had a manager or whatever. And the manager stayed trying to talk that family stuff like, oh, we a family and blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, we would love to have you a part of the family and this and that and the third. I'm like, that's cool. So I charge this much for my beats. Every time I would say how much I charge, he would then mention to me, oh, well, we get these beats from this producer and this producer is like hot and blah, 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 blah. We get these producers we got a bunch of beats from him for free. I'm like, well, that's great for him. But guess what? He's on. Me, I'm like, look, I spend time making these beats. I don't know about all these other Bammers, but I spend time making these beats. So, and I will say this about my ex-girlfriend, the girlfriend that I was with before I got married. She was really heavy on me handling my business. Without her, like, kind of sort of setting up that mindset, I don't think I would have the mindset that I have today, because she was big on protecting myself. She was the main one that pushed me to like get stuff copyrighted. Now, granted, my brother and one of his friends were the one that had me set up my whole account with ASCAP. But during that time, she was always like, look, you spend way too much time doing this music. It takes time away from me. It takes time. It wears you out. So yeah, you need to charge them for your beats. And you need to have contracts. That was another thing she was big on. Have a contract, have a paper trail. So having her in my corner at that time, and then having other people in my corner after her, including my wife. My wife was big on has been big on me handling my business as well, not shortchanging myself, making sure I get paid for my time. Especially, you know what I'm saying, it taking away from time from her, taking away time from my family. You know, it's like, handle your business. So I'm about my business all the time, you know. And shout out to everybody that's on the check-in. Shout out my big sis, Karen Mosley, on the check-in on Instagram. My man Frank on the check-in on Instagram, fball112 on Instagram. My main man T from the streets, Banana City representing. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you for tapping in, my brother. But yeah, you know, like, for me, it's a matter of making sure that you maximize everything you possibly can do to build your brand and monetize your brand. That's what I'm trying to say. Monetize your brand. There's so many ways to do that. And a lot of times people get afraid to do that because they get afraid to ask for honestly what they deserve. They get afraid to do the research because it takes a certain level of work. to do the research, to make sure that you take care of things. And a lot of times when you're an independent artist, you're doing it on your own. A lot of times you don't have help. You don't have a manager. You don't always have a manager. You don't always have a social media manager. You don't always have somebody doing your graphics. You don't always have somebody doing your videos or your lyric videos or whatever it might be. You don't always have somebody in your corner handling a lot of the business. So you have to handle the business yourself. And that's why it's important that you learn it yourself. Don't be ignorant. So many people have not even tried to look into PROs, stuff like Sound Exchange, stuff like Nielsen BDS, stuff like owning all of your digital streaming platform profiles, claiming all of them, claiming as many as you possibly can. And I love this. Calvin says, being afraid to ask what you deserve. Absolutely. Absolutely. Too many people are afraid to do that. And shout out my main man, KB's Third Life, on the check-in on Instagram. And my man T from the Street said, much love and respect, my fam. Keep up the amazing work. 9 real T from the streets of Banana City. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always appreciate the love, my brother. You know what I mean? But then getting ahead, I said about my business all the time. Ain't no shaving off the cheat. So I said that line, ain't no shaving off the cheat. Because for me, if you do business with me, I'm not finna cheat you out. If anything, I'm going to push you to handle your business. I'm going to say, hey, you got a pro? You got your own publishing? You know, like, are you tapped in with this? Are you tapped in with that? I'm that person. You know, I'm like, if I have the information to help you get more money, then I'm not going to shortchange you. Now, I can't force you to do what you should do on the business side. That's up to you. But if you're doing business with me, I'm not going to cheat you out. If anything, I'm going to give you more than what a lot of people would do. Here's a perfect example for me. There are times when I work with singers. The singers might not write the hook. I write the hook. But I know how it's gone in the industry so many different times that the singers, they're the ones who are really doing a lot of that work up front to deliver a hook or deliver lyrics to a song. Even if they're not the authors of it, they're the ones that bring it to life. So my thing is, I'm going to make sure that you get yours regardless. I'm going to make sure that you get credit. I'm going to give you a writing credit because there's a certain level of authorship that you have to do as a singer, even if you didn't actually write it. You have to bring it to life. So why not get paid from that? Why not keep getting residuals? That's me not shaving off the cheat. That's me not trying to just keep all the money for myself. It's not that important for me to keep all the money. Yes, I produce my own music because I just know what I want to hear. But that's one of the biggest reasons why I even produce my own music, because I know what I want to hear. You know what I mean? There it is, DJ Shane. He said, we learn the game to give game back. Absolutely. That's part of our lot in life, is to constantly pay it forward, to constantly share what we have with those we work with, or those who we interact with, or those who are the future. You know what I'm saying? If I can give to somebody who's younger than me and it helps them in way, and they take it in ways that I couldn't even take it. For me, that's a win. That speaks highly on me. And the information I was able to give or help to give somebody to help them on their path, I'm not going to dim their light. I'm not going to cut them down or anything like that. I'm celebrating that as a win. I mean, shoot, I celebrate people's wins even if I had nothing to do with it. So how much more am I going to celebrate somebody's win if I even had like a little bit of help in like them being successful? So it's always about putting people in positions to win, not do what, you know, has been done in the game so much, and people try to keep all the money for themselves, and people putting, you know, this funny language in a contract or in an agreement or whatever. And then it's like, oh, you didn't pay attention to that loophole. No, if I'm doing an agreement or a contract with somebody, I'm going to make sure you read it as clear, or I'm going to make sure it's as clear as possible so that there's no confusion about what the terms of this agreement are. because I don't believe in doing that. That's bad business. You know what I mean? So, evidence of culture in my blood, check my first bus. Hip hop emerged, turning curses into surplus. So the reason why I said that, evidence of culture in my blood, check my first bus. So that refers to the fact some of y'all may know this already about me from previous episodes of the Maximum Sentence. Some of y'all may not know this. Some of y'all are kind of new to this. But one of the things that I used to do was I used to make model metro buses out of cardboard paper, because I saw a commercial when I was 6 years old for a toy metro bus. And I had all these toys, and it was like, oh dang, I don't have a toy metro bus. I'm like, yeah, I want one of those. And so my mom and dad was like, well, we don't know where to get it. We don't know where to buy it. So I was like, what you mean you don't know where to buy it? Like, and then I realized, I'm like, well, they probably don't know where to buy it. Like, now you can Google stuff now, but back then it's like, if there was no readily available commercial that told you, oh, you can get this from the Metro sales office, or you can get this from whoever, or you can get this from KB Toys or Toys R Us back then. They didn't have that, or Lionel Kitty City. They didn't have that back then. You know what I'm saying? You see a bus in a Metro commercial, it's like they ain't telling you, oh, you can go here to get it. So because my parents didn't know where to get it, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to make this myself. I'm gonna have to create this myself, because they don't have the means to buy it. So I need to come up with the means to create it. So over the course of probably about 5 or 6 years, I perfected the craft of making Metro buses. It started out of printer paper, then it evolved into cardboard paper or poster board. And it evolved from just like wheels that I drew on a bus to the fact that I could make a bus out of cardboard paper with moving wheels, because I would just take toy wheels from other toys, take them off those toys and put them on my buses so that the wheels would move. But the creativity when you don't have, that's hip hop. That's pretty much every form of black art, for real. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I said evidence of culture in my blood, check my first bus. Like, I was hip hop my whole life and didn't realize I was being set up for being a part of this culture. Hip hop emerged, turning curses into surplus, because thinking about where hip hop came from, you think about the Bronx in the 70s. The Bronx was a war zone. People, I mean, it was people getting killed. It was buildings burning. It was a whole lot of lack. And so our people, being our people, turned that lack into something great. Turned nothing into something. That was hip hop. And so for me, I never let what I don't have keep me from achieving what I want. I never let what I don't have keep me from making the best possible product that I can. Because bringing that to music, I know people who have had better equipment than me, but they didn't have the imagination that I have. I mean, like, top-notch equipment, top-notch keyboards, top-notch software, top-notch computers to run all of this stuff. And I didn't have that. I never forget the first time I went in the Q Recording Studios, Falls Church, Virginia. And the engineer we was working with at the time, and I didn't understand that at the time, but he told me, he was like, you don't have a studio-ready keyboard. That's why we're having the issues we're having with converting your music over to Pro Tools. Because I didn't know about Pro Tools at that time. Like, I heard about it, but I had never seen it face to face. But once I seen it face to face, and I started understanding what the difference was between a studio-ready keyboard and a little toy keyboard like I had, you know what I'm saying? A little $300 keyboard there. It wasn't really prepared for the studio, even though it had MIDI capabilities. Like, I had a Yamaha DJ-X to start off. That's not a studio-ready keyboard. But a Yamaha Motif, that's a studio-ready keyboard. That's an industry standard keyboard. How many times have we seen people playing like live sets with a Motif keyboard? But the bottom line is, even with that DJ-X, I was making beats that it was like, people couldn't believe that I was making these beats with what I had. Shout out my main man, the real Artemis, on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in, my brother. Always good to see you, my fellow Libra brother. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was a matter of working with what I had and making the most of it, no matter what I have. You know, now I'm at a level where I have better equipment as a DJ, as a producer. Like, I have much better equipment now. You know, my converters are good. I got a great keyboard. I got, you know, good recording software. I got all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, granted, it's still not like absolute, like top of the line, like a lot of people, but like a lot of this stuff, like, I mean, I can get it in. You know what I'm saying? Unlike back in the day where I was very limited. But whether I have or whether I don't have, it's the whole thing. Like, I really live my life based on Philippians 4, I think it's 4:11, where it basically says, when I'm abased, I know how to abound. When I abound, I know how to be abased. Like, it doesn't matter where I'm at with things, I know how to adjust. I know how to navigate regardless. And my attitude toward what I have. I don't sit there and look at it like, oh, well, I don't have this and I don't have that. Like, okay, what do you have? How can you make the most of what do you have? That's hip hop. I feel like if you can't make the most of a little, then what you gonna do with a lot? You know what I mean? And it's like my man Calvin just said, you don't need top of the line ish to produce a top of the line sound. That's right, because the top of the line sound is within you as the creator. It's not in that gear, because there are people who have top of the line equipment and they pick these cheesy, crappy sounds, or they don't know how to like make anything that really slaps because it's not in them to do so. They can't hear music in a certain way that the true creatives, who no matter what kind of equipment they have, know how to do. Make $1 out of 15 cents. That's right, Anonymous Touch. Absolutely. You got to make the most out of a little. That's hip hop. And I'm going to keep saying that. That's hip hop. I've been hip hop before I even knew I was hip hop. It was already in my destiny. It was already in the stars. It was already God's intention for me to be specifically in this genre. Sure, I could have been a singer. If I really wanted to like get vocal lessons, I could have been a singer. Didn't want to be a singer. You know what I mean? And DJ Shane just said, if it's no soul in it, equipment doesn't matter. That is it. If it's no soul in it, equipment doesn't matter. And that's the problem with a lot of what I hear now, if I'm being honest. And I'm not the type of person to like rag on like the new school or anything like that, because there's a lot of great music coming out from younger artists. A lot of great music. But a lot of the stuff, especially the stuff that we constantly get beaten in the head with on the radio, it doesn't have soul. Because again, a lot of these bammers is computer programmers. There's a difference. There's a huge difference. A lot of these bammers get little piano packs and get like basically play the same type of pianos, or just plug and play a piano part into their song. They don't even play them parts half the time. Somebody created that for them. They just plugged and played. That's it. You didn't play that, dog. That's why, you know what I'm saying? One song will sound just like another song, sound just like another song. It's like the whole thing. Every other city we go, every other video, no matter where I go, I see the same hoe. It's like that, only for music. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, all of that to say that I feel like this episode has been more about how do you establish your own identity as an artist? If you're going to be independent, the first step to being an independent artist is truly being independent. Independent in thought, independent in creativity. Like, yeah, you have your business together. Absolutely have your business together. But the first step to being an independent artist, at the end of it, is artist. So you begin with declaring your independence, but you end with the art. If your art is not independent of what's going on, then, I mean, yeah, you kind of sort of on the fast track to being major, because you're exactly what they're looking for. Somebody to keep the trend going. Somebody to feed the algorithm. Somebody who's got all of the metrics down. But what art do you really bring to the table? And how do you separate yourself from everybody else as an artist? Because if you can't be distinguishable from somebody else, if you sound like 10 other people out there, 20 other people out there, then can you call yourself an artist? I don't think so. So that's the most important thing for me, and I know that's the most important thing for a lot of independent artists, is being independent in the way that you create your art. You have to put your own stamp, your own individuality on what you do in order to stand out. I think about, how many of us have seen the T-Pain rant? You know what I'm saying? About do something else. That's it. Do something else. And don't be afraid to do something else. It's okay to do something else. It's okay to be you. Because if you go and do this independent thing, that's going to be the most important thing about it, is being yourself. Nobody wants to listen to somebody that they feel like they can turn on the radio and listen to and hear about 10 other duplicates of that same type of vibe. If you are stepping out there and truly being an artist, they want to hear what you bring to the soundscape. And I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna read a couple of comments from folks. Well, really, DJ Shane, he said, there's a reason why recycled things aren't biodegradable. Ooh, that is a bar for that ass. I'm gonna read that again. He said, there's a reason why recycled things aren't biodegradable. That's yeah. That might be the quote of the night right there. You know, I'd have said a lot of great things, but that right there, that's it. That's it right there, Shane. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I definitely appreciate that. Adam said great vibes tonight. That's what we try to do right here on the Maximum Sentence every Sunday night. You know what I mean? And I absolutely love the live format. I love this joint. I love being able to interact with people live. And shout out to Terrence S. Ellington on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in, my brother. Even though we about to wrap up, that doesn't mean that if you haven't heard Independence Avenue, track number 4 from The Late Bloomer 2, my latest EP, the sequel to my debut EP, part of my debut EP series, please make sure that you go to all the streaming platforms. Only one I'm not on is Spotify, but everywhere else I am. If you're going to stream it, because I don't discourage streaming. I encourage all forms of listening to my music, vibing with my music, connecting with my music. But if you're going to stream it, all I ask is that you listen to it in full and preferably add it to a playlist, because that's what really brings us to the forefront as independent artists. You know, it's this whole thing about talking about the importance of being an independent artist and declaring your independence. Well, part of that is having supporters behind you who understand the assignment. And part of the assignment for y'all as consumers of independent artists like me is that if you're going to stream it, keep streaming it. Tell your friends about it. Share it with people. Encourage them to add it to a playlist, just like you add it to your own playlist. Whatever playlist you add it to. You know what I mean? Shout out to my main man, Ron Eyes 31 on the check-in on YouTube. Not YouTube, Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in, my brother. Just wrapping up this conversation about Independence Avenue. But yeah, you can stream my music, all streaming platforms except Spotify. Or if you want to actually financially support, excuse me, you can go to my website, BAMMLLC.net/music. Or you can just go right to the website. You can connect to the page to actually buy it from the home page, BAMMLLC.net. Also, yes, Calvin, stream strong, stream often, tell many a friend. Absolutely. My man Calvin understands the assignment, because not only does Calvin stream, Calvin has literally bought everything I've put out. And getting to the buying part, not only can you buy it on my website, but if you want 4 bonus tracks that you can't get anywhere else, you can't get it on the streaming platforms, you can't even get it on my website. If you want 4 bonus tracks, go to my Bandcamp page, ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. Once again, that's ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. If you're not already following me on social media or on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, please make sure, first and foremost, thank y'all for watching my YouTube people. If you're watching this live or watching this on a replay. Second of all, if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. So hit that bell notification whenever I go live, post a new video, premiere a new video. You'll be among the first to know. And that goes for y'all as well on Instagram. You know you can get my notifications on Instagram as well. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, that is a.j.throwback on Instagram. Once again, a.j.throwback on Instagram. It's the same also on TikTok. If you're a Facebook or Twitter person, I'm on those platforms as well, at AJ Throwback. And if you haven't already found me on YouTube, it's AJ Throwback 928. Once again, AJ Throwback 928. And of course, y'all know me. I'm always shamelessly plugging. I got the Batch hat on. I got one of the most popular shirts on my website right now. I am the proud and rightful owner of My Voice, based off of my song Take 37. Anonymous Touch got her shirt. My sis OG the Queen got her shirt. My man Taj Wilson about to get his shirt. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to the real Queen Goddess on the check-in on Instagram. Appreciate you for tuning in, Queen. But yeah, a lot of people got this shirt right there. This shirt has become popular, and I love it. I'm here for it because it is about owning your own voice. But if you want this hat, you want this shirt, or you want some of the fall fashion that we got out right now, I done rolled out a whole bunch of shirts, got some hats, got some sweats on the website now. If you want any of this gear, please make sure that you visit my website. Once again, BAMMLLC.net/shop batch. Once again, that's BAMMLLC.net/shop batch. It's lots of gear on there, you know what I'm saying, for lots of different vibes. You know, some of it's music merch, some of it's just like lifestyle merch, you know what I mean? And I definitely appreciate it. Anonymous, she said, I love your t-shirt. The real Queen Goddess said, I will get a shirt soon, real soon. Definitely I appreciate that. And said, I came in a little late. It's all good. You know, better late than never. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to be replaying the, I'm going to post a replay tomorrow. So definitely make sure that you check out the replay if you want to see the whole thing. Calvin said, YouTube is pretty trash about notifying people. Instagram is much better at it. I agree. Now, I ain't going to crap on YouTube too much because, I'm on this platform. But Calvin is absolutely right when it comes to which platform is better. Like if you're on Instagram, and even if you're not on Instagram, like you just get them notifications a whole lot quicker. Same thing with Facebook. As much as I be saying Facebook is trash, if you are tapped into what somebody is doing, they notify you very well on both of those platforms. You know what I'm saying? So definitely appreciate everybody tuning in wherever you could tune in. And also, if you want to follow Batch on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, it's batch.202. Once again, that's batch.202. And on Twitter, it's batch_202. Once again, batch_202 on Twitter. So next week, we'll be getting into the last 16 bars of Independence Avenue. So this will be the last discussion about Independence Avenue before we shift gears to the last song that we're going to talk about for the Late Bloomer 2. So definitely y'all want to make sure that y'all come back for that conversation. That's when we're going to start digging into the benefits of being in this era that we're in now versus back in the day. How much easier it is to be an independent artist in the technological age, the social media age. How much more is at our disposal to be successful? That's what we're going to get into next week. So definitely make sure that y'all tune in for that. I want to make sure that I thank everybody who tuned in. Whether you're watching this on a live or whether you're watching this on a replay, I thank you so much for your support of the project, of this series, The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars, of the merch, of all of the music. No matter how you support, I'm so appreciative of it. Same thing for my people on Instagram. I'm so appreciative of y'all. Y'all really be keeping this joint going. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are my biggest supporters by far, and y'all really making the case to move this joint to to Instagram, but that's another conversation for another day. But anyway, once again, thank everybody. I want y'all to enjoy your week. Have a great start, great middle, great finish to your week. Enjoy your upcoming weekend. And I'm going to see y'all right back here next Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. I'm your man, AJ Throwback. And until then, y'all be blessed. Peace out.
Hey.